Hey, I'm Michael Dorinda,
And I'm Jake Bennett.
and welcome to episode 84 of the North Meets South Web Podcast.
Here we are. And you know what? It's just weird because I have your video is lagging behind your audio for some reason. So your internet is not gooding, as you say.
It is not gooding. I don't know, my computer's just lagging at the moment, which is rather tedious. I don't know why. I came to use my computer this morning and the battery was at like 6% and it said that it's not charging. And that is odd to me because whilst it's not charging and it's at 6%, it's also not discharging. So it's just kind of sitting at 5%. And it has been, yeah. So I had a look at it this morning and like 3 hours ago it was at 5%. And I went to the gym and I came back and it is still at 5% and says that it'll take like 3 hours to charge. So we'll see what happens. That may be contributing to the lag.
Gotcha. That's what that image was that you were sending. Yeah, I was trying to figure that out. You know what? Like on my Mac, honestly, I've had to unplug it and replug it in. This is like actually on a semi-regular basis. Like it's supposed to be charging.
Yeah, I did this
and it looks
times.
like it's charging, and then all of a sudden, like my machine starts getting really slow, and then I look at the charge and it's like plugged in, but it's like 5%, and then it's like I have to unplug it and plug it back in, and then it starts charging actually.
Yeah, so I thought it was the USB-C like multi thing that I've got, the USB dock thing.
Yeah.
And so I unplugged that and I plugged the like that Apple power cable directly into my MacBook, and it's still
acting wonky.
Still laggy, and it didn't like it still. I plugged it in and it said it was not charging, and I restarted the computer. Like I did a full shutdown and a cold boot, and it still said that it's not charging. So I don't know what the heck's going on. So
I'm just it's lagging like a banana. As the Aussies say.
Yeah. I don't know. The Aussies don't say that. I just said that because I was trying to.
I was like, that's what I was wondering. I was like, is that an Aussie thing or what? Like, it's like lagging like a banana.
It's just,
and then you're like, no. It's just a Michael thing.
Yeah, it's just a Michaelism. And like, I assume like when my phone starts to get into that 10% like power saving kind of thing, it just like it gets laggy as well. So I suspect it's just going into like some kind of self-preservation mode.
Yeah, right. Like preserve as much battery as you can, stop animating, stop doing all the things fast. Yeah.
Which it appears to be doing. So Andreas is watching, so he can tell us if I am as janky as it appears that I am.
Yeah, maybe just delayed or something like that. Just the video and the audio aren't quite synced up. Hey, folks, I apologize if I am yawning throughout this show. I've already been asleep tonight. And so I'm back up and at it. We pushed back a day because my parents were in town yesterday. And so we're normal time, but an hour later due to me. So we're going to make it happen. We are going to make it happen. And you know what? While we're right at the top of the show, why don't we just talk about WorkVevo, huh? You want to talk about them real quick?
Talk about
before
WorkVevo.
So I actually had a call with WorkVevo not too long ago, actually. Joe Lennon and the team over there at WorkVevo, they're doing some really cool stuff. So basically WorkVevo is, I don't want to say Facebook for your thing. That's for your company, for your organization, because that's not exactly what it is. But it's a really great communication platform that unifies a whole bunch of different channels that you would normally handle through email, through Slack, through a message board, through a sort of HR platform. It takes and unifies a whole bunch of stuff. And some of the things that I really, really like about WorkVevo is that it takes some of your cultural values and allows you to integrate those into the platform really well. So you can say, hey, here we value our reputation and hard work and fair dealings, right? Those are just some of the ones I pulled out of my hat from our company. And then you can actually say, this person exemplified this value at the company today, and then you can kind of like give them a shout out on the company main feed. But then you also have all these other sub people can subscribe to or listen to or comment on, so people can generate their own content and really feel like they are contributing to the company and not just a consumer, right? So a new person getting onboarded immediately feels like they're a part of the stream, and they're not only locked down to their single particular team, they actually have a voice in the entire company. It's really well done. They just got done with another round of funding because people think it's so amazing, and it is. And so if you haven't checked out WorkVevo before and you're looking for something kind of like what I'm describing here, you should definitely get on a call with Joe and his team. They're really professional and really awesome people. Like I said, I got on a call with them a couple times, and yeah, they're excellent. So definitely check them out. Thanks, WorkVevo, for sponsoring this. Okay, so let's get down to it then. So we have been working on then Ping Me, of course,
Hmm.
and all of the good stuff. So some of the things that we've kind of been working on recently have revolved around, I know, kind of switching all of our things from what we had previously built with Teams over to Jetstream. So we can talk about that a little bit. That's been interesting, kind of digging in on that front. And then we've also had some interesting items around how we're handling Stripe and our subscriptions. So I'm trying to think about which one we'd kind of rather tackle first. I have lots of good stuff. I don't know if it's good stuff. I have lots of stuff to
I,
say about Stripe.
I will
Um,
tell you what I would like to talk about first, and that is
yeah,
this
let's hear it.
promotion of yours that you told me that you had. That
Ooh,
I didn't even know this was on the cards, and you're like, sorry, dude, I have not been working on Then Ping Me because I've been busy with promotion and all this extra work. So I want to know about
yeah.
this because this came
All
out of
right.
nowhere. Where do you
Yeah,
get
sure.
promoted
So
to from team lead?
so the journey at Wilbur, and I'll give you the short and sweet version of it. So I was a teacher before this. I moved over to this company Wilbur, which I'm at now, so that my wife could hopefully stay home, and moved around a little bit. Ended up moving back to Wilbur, landed there as strictly software development. That was kind of like where I ended up. I was initially break T guy and ended up coming back as software development dude. That was all I did.
Hmm.
Eventually, team grew a little bit, and when I very first came on, the first time I was at Wilbur, kind of my head was like branding manager. So like I would handle all the advertisements that went out as well as break fix IT stuff.
Hmm.
So I sort of had some of the creative team under me as well. So we ended up hiring more developers, more creative team members. My team was about maybe 6 or 7. A couple of weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, almost now. And our director of IT had left for another job opportunity, and we had been looking to have an outside hire, and had some people come in, nobody that was really a great culture fit, and so they said, you know what, Jake, what would you think about managing the IT team? And at first, I was like, oh man, like here's the deal, literally, I'm when it comes to like actual IT stuff, incompetent. Like I don't know anything about networking. Like I don't know anything about like server backups and like Active Directory, any of that stuff. I don't know any of
Hmm.
that stuff. But to be honest, it's almost been an advantage because I can't just jump in and do the work, which is the
Yeah.
temptation a lot of times when there's like an overburdened area of work. It's
Hmm.
like, oh, I can do that. I'll just work harder and do that. And I can't. Um, Basically, my job has been to hire the people that need to be hired in that department. So we're hiring 2 people. I've got 2 people that we're going to hopefully make offers to this next week, kind of get them in position and get them trained up so I can just kind of help manage and oversee that. And then hire another developer as well in the near future and possibly some new creative team members as well in this next year. So that's kind of where things have been. It's been, I went from a team of 7 to a team of about, let's see, what is it now? Probably 12, almost all.
Hmm.
It will be 12 or 13. So yeah, so it's been kind of crazy. IT has been taking up a large portion of my life recently, and so we will eventually get back to software development land. That is kind of the goal, is that kind of stabilize that department so that I can kind of get back to like the thing that I'm really passionate about. But anyway, yeah, that's kind of how the journey has been for me. So been just a lot of strategic thinking, probably more than anything. Just trying to figure out who needs to go where. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of been the job.
It's definitely a change. I'm glad that there is a very real possibility that that will never happen to me if I stay where I am now. So that's good
Hmm.
because I don't want to. We've got a head of enterprise systems and a head of IT and all that kind of stuff. So I don't have to
Yeah.
worry about that in my future. What I am worried about is this is my last week of parental leave. So I'm back on deck at work next week after 6 weeks off, and I called my manager before. That's why we're a little bit delayed in recording today, and I'm like, I have some concerns about returning to work, and just I'm sure that there's things that are just gonna have been bubbling for the last 6 weeks that are just gonna hit the fan when I get back. But he seemed pretty confident that everything will be
Oh
fine,
man.
and we just have to ship these projects that have been worked on in my absence. So we'll see what happens. But
So yeah,
we're
your
doubling.
position there right now. your position there right now, sorry, is that are you kind of the team lead? So like you have a group that you kind of you're the what do they call it? The lead equals, if you will, something like that, where basically you're still doing the work and in the work, but you're the guy who
Mhm.
gets to push the button to say, let's deploy this thing. Is that kind
Yeah.
of what you would how
Yeah,
you
so
would
I'm the
describe your role?
lead software developer, so it's my like, I take all of the responsibility for all of the failures and none of the praise kind of thing. So,
Sure. Yeah.
it's, my job to make sure that people do do good work and that I can facilitate their ability to do good work and keep people out of the way. So just sort of formalizing contact and making sure that my team doesn't have, 10 different people contacting them for various different things. All the contact has to come to me, and then we try and make sure that the other side of the business is the same, so that there's single points of contact between myself and the other team. So each team has a person that contacts me if something needs to be done or worked on, and things like that. And that's just to prevent, you know 10 different people all coming to me with all different things, and then, two people asking for the same thing and one person asking for a similar thing, and, and then no one in the sort of leadership hierarchy knowing what's going on. So it's just important
Yeah.
to keep the lines of communication clear. And then, whilst I would like for my job to largely be outside of that, development, there's a lot of managing Jira, which is about to get more sticky because we're going to have to start putting time estimates in there rather than just cards on, we'll do these things, backlogging things and things like that. And there's a lot of requirement stuff because we don't really have a BA or a project manager type person. So a lot of that comes down
Yeah,
to,
that's interesting.
me going and
Is that you?
working with
Yeah. So
stakeholders
that's
and figuring out, what are the requirements and what are the what is the MVP for X and what is the next step and things like that. So it's kind of not really a lot of development. And then of course, if something breaks, and then it gets into the
yeah.
operational day-to-day stuff like fixing the problems and identifying, is it something that we could handle better next time? Like, will there be another failure and how do we better approach it next time? Or is it something that, it just broke and there's not really a lot that we can do about it, and things like that. So it's just about documenting how we fixed or how we dug ourselves out of that hole. So yeah.
Nice. That's that is a I'm interested to hear kind of how that journey goes. Like as you know, as the business continues to grow and things, like what sort of software you end up finding yourself using. Like, do you does your work process fit into something like what Ryan Singer and those guys at Basecamp, had a while ago. What was that called? It's going to drive me crazy. They released that
The shape
ebook,
up.
right? Shape Up.
Hmm.
Thank you. Yeah, like does it fit into that? Like, can you get cycles like that?
I would love to, but I
You know,
think we're a business of a certain size now, and the other development units or the other development teams in the wider business, they're all sort of fairly agile-ish. They do their cards and all that stuff's fairly well documented, and they do 2 week sprints so I think it's going to be a little bit more rigid, which is a bit annoying. And I've been butting heads with my manager about it because I'm like, well, I'm just going to put the estimate for everything as 2 months because who the hell knows how long anything is
it's
going to
so true,
take.
man. Like, it's so hard to ship anything significant in
Mm,
2 weeks.
yeah,
Like, 2 weeks is just like you can get like if it's a big thing, you can get part of that big thing done in 2 weeks.
yeah.
Like, but it's
And the
that's
thing
like a
that
good goal.
Yeah, the other thing that I was arguing about is like, okay, well, this task is going to take 3 days, but that doesn't mean it's, I start Monday and I finish Wednesday. It means that it'll take me it'll be 3 days of work. And whether I get 3 consecutive days to do
Right.
that, or it'll be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or it'll be Monday this week and then Tuesday, Thursday next week. And, there's just, I don't think
Yeah.
we're going to
I
go
feel like
into sprints, but I just feel like putting estimates on things, it's like, and the argument that it is now, and the argument that it's always been at previous businesses, it's put in your estimates to show the backlog of work so you can figure out how much you're getting through so that you can justify an additional hire. And
right, right.
my argument to that is always, well, look, if I didn't need another developer, then we would actually be getting through this backlog rather than this backlog getting bigger, right?
Yeah.
And you can see the backlog. We just keep adding stuff to it, and it doesn't get churned through because there's we're waiting on third parties and stakeholders, and we do some work and say, okay, we need some text, and then we don't. And text is an easy thing, and I'm happy to, for the most part, write the text and say, is this what you need? And all they have to do is say yes, or they have to massage some words, or they have to change it, and that process can take days, weeks,
Yeah.
just to hear back. And so things just get backlogged. I'm like, well, here's this thing that was supposed to take 3 days. I've spent 2.5 days on it, and now it's just sitting in my to-dos because I'm waiting, right? It's just sitting, awaiting contact, awaiting stakeholder, whatever. And then, it comes back to me. It's like, well, what's going on? I'm like, I asked for the feedback and I'm waiting for the feedback. Like I can keep harassing them, but it doesn't. So
Yeah.
it's just structurally, making sure that, okay, we've done this and we've sent the emails and requested the contact. And it's like, well, it's not, kind of the handball. It's not up to us anymore. Like I can't ship it until it's ready, and it's not ready until everyone signed off on it. So
Yeah, and that's always the
it'll be interesting.
situation too, is it's like as you get that feedback, you end up realizing like, oh hey, by the way, that thing we said we needed sending out in text before, we actually need it in email instead of in text. So can you do both? And it's like,
Yeah, we
yes,
can, but it's different,
but
right? 160
it's
character text
completely
message
different.
is very and then the email gets drawn out because now you've got basically an unlimited
Yeah,
amount of thing, and
exactly.
it's like we're going to put all these words in here, and we want like to send all this information so the customer's informed. I'm like, you can send as much text as you want, but you cannot make the customer read that information. And the amount of times that I've had this argument, like, oh, we want to put another checkbox. If you look at the final step of our sign up form, there's like 9 checkboxes and 17 paragraphs of like, all of the different things that you're agreeing to and the things that will happen. And if you've got a phone number, it'll get disconnected. And then people call us after the fact and they're like, well, my phone number's not working anymore. It's like, yeah, it was in the sign up form. You agreed to that. Oh, I didn't know. It's like, yeah, because people don't read it. The problem with having
Right.
all of this text up in someone's face is that it's terms of service kind of thing or privacy policy. Yeah, okay.
Oh, for
Scroll to the
sure.
bottom,
Yeah,
agree,
yeah,
done.
yeah.
Like tick tick
Exactly.
tick.
Yeah,
People are
exactly.
just so tuned to just tick 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 and hit submit. So
Well, also, I mean, if we're being honest, we don't actually expect them to read that. We
no,
expect them to tick, tick, tick and be done.
correct.
That's the expectation. And that's everybody knows that and plays that same game. So we know we're just giving them crap to do so that we can do stuff to them later saying that they agreed to it. No, we don't actually expect that anybody's reading through that stuff
Yeah,
ever.
I had a big shit fight like a year ago. That was, oh, we want to put in like the invoice emails that if you have a credit card on file, the invoice will be deducted. Like we'll attempt to process the payment basically on the due date. Because customers were like, oh, I've got a credit card on file. Why have I got an invoice? It's like, well, because we sent an invoice 14 days in advance, and so we put that in there because the big fight was, if you put that text in there, then customers won't call us. I'm like, no, customers don't read it. Literally, the first thing in the email is, you can pay this invoice if you have to. And it's just picking a battle. It's like, all right, we'll put the text in there, but it's not actually going to solve your problem, right? It's about trying to find and this is the thing always, you're trying to find the underlying problem and solving that. People that come to you with solutions, like the amount of times that I've had a stakeholder come to me and say, I want to put a button here that does this. I'm like, no, I want to put a button somewhere that does this. What is your problem? Why do you
Yeah.
need a button there? And I have been met with resistance and I have been met with fluster. Like I've said, what do you need this thing for? And someone turns around and just gets pissy at me.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah, there's this quote I love. It says, when a user comes to you with a when a user comes to you with a problem, they're almost always right. When they come to you with a solution, they're almost always wrong.
yeah,
Right? So like the fact that they're coming to you with a solution indicates the fact that there likely is a problem of some sort. But the solution that they're proposing is almost always going to be the
yeah.
incorrect
They're
answer.
putting the cart
Because they
before the
don't
horse.
exactly. You got it correct. Yeah. So yeah, that's a tough one. And it's like a very diplomatic sort of thing you got to deal with as like, it's exactly the position you're in now though. Like literally is that PM? I know.
No diplomacy. I try and get to the bottom of it, and if they don't want to play the game and they just want to, they just leave, and I never hear about it again. I say, well, that's one less bit of work that I have to do. So
There you go. There you go. Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to kind of see how that works out. Yeah, I think, this is a story that I'm sure many people who are listening to this will say, yeah, my company too, we have the same problem. I'll say
it
one thing
happens
that we've
everywhere.
done
This
that
is not
has kind
unique
of,
to me or
yeah,
you. This is like
for sure.
everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's funny
One thing that's
because
helped.
I work for an internet provider, right? And if you call your internet provider, if you call our help desk and you say my internet doesn't work, do you know what we do? We try and find out why. We get to the bottom of it. Is this light on your router? Does this work? Can you ping this IP address? And you work backwards to find out what the problem is. This is the same thing. But when it's a problem with our software, they're like, this thing's broken. I'm like, how did you get there? Oh, here's a screenshot of the error message. No. what did you do?
What you do to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What what page did you go to? What data did you upload or what did you enter to get this 500 error? Because sending me a screenshot of the 500 is useless. Yes,
Yeah,
I
for
got the
sure.
Sentry alert that there was a 500. What did you do to get there? And then you don't hear
Yeah.
back from them because they're like, oh, there's enough information in the screenshot. If there was enough information in the screenshot, I wouldn't be asking you these dumb questions.
Dude, we actually, so speaking of that, we turned on like the JavaScript errors in Sentry as much as we can, you know? No?
No.
Okay, so I know. Like that was my experience too when we turned them on 3 years ago. I don't know if something changed or if we just integrated it better or what. We're using the Vue version now instead of like, before we had like a bunch of jQuery stuff running around in there. And I'm telling you, this one, like it's been really helpful. This one specific app, we have actually two different apps that we have I'm thinking of. Like it'll show you they went to this page, then they did this thing, then they did this thing, then they put this input in, then they clicked this button, and then it errored, right?
Mhm.
And it shows you that entire trace of kind of like their recent actions leading up to the thing that went wrong. It's been pretty helpful trying
Yeah.
to evaluate and figure out what actually went wrong there, right?
Yeah.
Um, so there's that. The other thing I was going to say too is that like one thing that's helped us a lot, and I feel like so much of a team lead or a PM or a manager or whatever you want to call them, so much of their job is managing distractions to kind of continue to keep as much effort pointed in the right direction as possible
Mhm.
and to not like have all these little diversions that are pulling away from the work that's supposed to be doing. So we had talked about doing 2 week sprints earlier, and yes, that's good. Whatever. What we've done is like we realize that there's a lot of times in the week that people bring up items that need to be done, whatever. And so what we've said is like unless it's something that's actually affecting money, like if
Mhm.
we're unable to take payments or if we're unable to do the job, the primary job, we will stop everything we're doing and deal with that. Otherwise, we push them into a fix it Friday bucket. And so what
Mhm.
we do is Monday through Thursday is always project work and top level emergent or and any top level emergencies that come in. But other than that, everything gets pushed to Friday. So we do our regular work Monday through Thursday. Friday morning they come in, finish up anything they worked on Monday through Thursday if there's any loose ends, and then they spend the rest of the day doing like technical debt or fixes. Like that's it. And so that's been really helpful. So it's like we kind of have like this. Yes, I know it's important, but it's you at the most you only have to wait 4 days and it'll be at least looked at. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's like, oh man, like I know this isn't a priority, but I got to do it at some point. Well, if I don't do it now, it's not going to happen. So it's like by
Mhm.
pushing it just a couple days, just to the end of the
Yeah.
week, that's been really helpful to kind of manage those distractions.
Mhm. Yeah, we're probably going to need to look at doing something like that because the amount of times that we get those little distractions, those emails that come in through the course of the day, um, we just
And
need
the
to,
thing is too is
because if
by
you stop what you're doing, you create a card, you allocate the card, you go and work on the problem. Like it might be a two-line fix, but it takes you out of, like the context switching is the killer. It takes you out of the
sure.
context of whatever you're working on, and then you got to go back, and then it's another half an hour before you figure out where you're up to and what you're doing, and being able to just dedicate the day, I think will be good, and probably something
And
we'll
by
look at, especially now that it's
and
just
there's two
me and
other
one
little
other person at the moment.
yeah. There's two other little things too is like by introducing that delay, a lot of times by the time you get to that problem, it's been fixed or resolved, right?
Hmm.
Just that little delay is enough for them to be like, oops, I actually did that wrong. My bad. Don't worry about it, right? Or oh, looks like that was just a one-off something or other. The other thing sometimes it helps to solve the problem. The other thing is that by them knowing that there's a small delay, it takes away that instant gratification thing. So sometimes they just don't submit
Yeah,
stupid crap that makes
and
no
that's the
sense.
thing that if they bring you something and you fix it straight away, then they're more inclined to bring it to you, the next time. Here's another little thing, and it'll just get
Exactly.
fixed straight away. So
Right. And
yes.
so it's not that you don't want to fix it, but it's like, hey, if it's not the top of the like if it's not top priority, I promise you we have other things we're working on. So it'll get dealt with as soon as we get to it, which may be this Friday, maybe next Friday. Literally. Like if it's not that important, it's probably not going to get at the top of the list. We got a lot of other things that were the top of the list for this Friday. So anyway, that's been helpful for me. Had no idea we were going to be talking about that about the show, which is not a problem, but there you go, folks. There you go. All right, man. So, hey, what else we want to talk about? We want to talk about Jetstream, or do we want to talk about Stripe stuff?
I think Jetstream's pretty. I think we spoke about it previously, and it was
Yeah,
just like
maybe a little bit.
shuffling things around because we'd gone off down a path with building Teams integration into then Ping Me, and most of what we had built eventually, once I had convinced you, was what ended up being built into Jetstream. So
That's very true.
there
Yes,
was
it
not a
was. It was
lot
hilarious, actually.
there was not a lot of changes that we needed to, some methods changed. We had a members relationship and Jetstream called it users, and so we just had to like tweak a few little things like that here and there. But for the most part, it works really well. We didn't have to change too many of our tests. Um, the biggest change we had to make was really just changing to the Laravel 8 factories. That caused some issues, but it streamlined things a lot, and it's made things a lot easier
Yeah.
to work with, thankfully. So, why don't
Um,
you walk us through what you've been working on with the billing?
yeah, for sure. So real quick before we just switch over to that, I'll just say that Jetstream, some of the things that have been really cool as I've been screwing around with it is just the components that are shipped with that make it really nice. Like those panels that they have um, are really handy. So you can have like I think it's like Jet Action panel or something, Jet Form panel or something. Anyway, and the it makes it really nice and gives you a great starting point to be able to integrate all those items and make it look exactly like the rest of the Jetstream panels do. So with that, we were kind of able to introduce our own sort of billing section. So the initial idea when we first came to this was we were going to use Stripe's new customer portal, which is really cool. If you haven't looked at this, basically what it allows you to do is it allows you to send your users to a customer portal on Stripe's side that will allow them to update and manage any of their payment methods, as well as their subscriptions, as well as any invoices. So it handles all three of those things for you so they can upgrade, downgrade their subscriptions. They can delete a payment method, edit their payment methods, or add multiple payment methods, set different ones as default. You can see any of the invoices that you've had, and those things are all generated for you on Stripe's side. So you don't have to manage that on your app's side. It just kind of does it in the background for you, which is
Hmm.
really handy.
Yeah.
Some of the things that I noticed that were a little bit weird, though, which I wanted to talk about real quick, is Stripe has a bunch of different services. If you haven't used it before, you have Elements, which is basically like a input field that you can use to collect credit card information, and then it'll tokenize it for you. You can store it on your charge that
Hmm.
manually. So that's kind of Elements. Then you have Checkout, which is where you can specify a product in your Stripe dashboard. And once you have that product or products created and pricing to go along with those products, you can then create a checkout session for the user based on what product they selected. So you make a little webhook call to Stripe, and then it will generate for you a session ID, and you redirect over to their checkout flow, and that will just handle all of that for you, so you don't have to embed anything on your site at all as far as the form goes. So it's like
Yeah.
a redirect, right? It does a redirect, and then once they do their payment, then it sends you a webhook. So that's checkout. Then you have like the customer portal. So it was a little bit confusing to get started with because I originally thought, well, the customer portal, you'll just send them over there and then they'll select their subscription and pay for it and all that.
Hmm.
Can't do that.
No.
You can only send them to the customer portal once they have selected for and paid for a subscription using the checkout flow.
Hmm.
So your subscription is essentially a product, and you have to send them over to the checkout for that particular subscription. And once that happens, then you can send them to the customer portal and they can see their subscription and manage their billing and manage all their other stuff. So that's great. The challenge we were having is that was all working fine. They would, when a user would initially signs in, we check to see, does their team have an active subscription? And if they don't, then we send them to the subscription page where they can choose a plan and their pricing monthly or annual, and then go to the checkout and handle that. The problem we were having is if someone wants to downgrade their subscription, let's say, if they go to the customer portal, all I have to do is click downgrade and there you go. The problem we have is if somebody is using the abilities that they have on a pro plan and they decide to go backwards to a solo plan, how do you decide which ones of those abilities to remove from their user or from their team, right? So let's use a very concrete example. Let's say that with a solo plan, they have one project and one team member that they can have. They upgrade to a pro plan, which gives them 10 projects and 5 team members. So let's say they do that, and now they have 5 projects that they're running. Let's say then they want to downgrade their subscription to solo. No problem, they can do that. But now, which 4 projects should get removed to take them back down to the solo plan? Or team members should be removed in order to get them back down to the solo plan, right? So it's either we just say, hey, we're cutting off your last 4 most recent projects, and
Mm,
too bad, so sad, you can't get back to them unless you re-upgrade. Oh, and those team members you had added to the group can no longer receive notifications, or if they do, they can't get back in, right? So what we said was we need some way to be able to control whether they can downgrade or not. And so that basically brought us to the point where we said, okay, we actually can't use the customer portal to handle upgrades and downgrades because we can't automatically determine what things to cut out
correct.
based on their
Yeah.
activity. So, Michael, you ended up kind of writing a little selector that used some information we had stored about the number of members and the number of projects they could have to sort of determine whether or not they could downgrade based on the plan that they were on. So I don't know if you want to talk about that a little bit and kind of like what went into that or
Hmm.
not.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, just going back to the stuff you were talking about with the jet action panel and all that kind of stuff makes it really easy to sort of when you're building that management type of stuff into your app. I know
right.
that there's some conjecture around bringing in Jetstream and having opinionated styles and things like that for any of the management side of the application, like the generic sort of billing teams, user stuff. I'm happy for that to all just be Jetstream and to look
Yeah,
like Jetstream.
totally
And
agree.
fortunately for us, like most of our stuff was based on Tailwind and Tailwind UI anyway, so there was
Right.
not a huge
Exactly.
departure. And that doesn't work in everyone's situation, but for us, it was just a matter of, we've got and I'd like to do a video on this at some stage, but it's just hard to find the time at the moment. All of our Stripe plans are just in a config file, right? So we've got config/plans.php, and then inside of our service provider, we have a a container binding, so just a singleton called plans, and that returns a plan collection. So we have a custom collection object that encapsulates the plans themselves. So rather than working with a
Which I love.
config
So
array,
nice.
we have a plan collection, and we just essentially just return new plan collection inside of that singleton, and so we can just get our plans at any time using app plans, and then we can swap that out at during tests so that we don't have to worry about that, or we can test against the real plan data, which is good. And it means that we can put in like specific logic into the plan collection in order to find things. So it's a multi-dimensional array structure, right? So we have an array of products, and under each product there's an array of pricing, and the pricing is either monthly or yearly. So in order to do things in there, we can say like, and I'll just pull it up so I'm not making it up as I go along. We've got things in there like find plan by pricing ID and find plan by lookup key and things like that, like the ways that we would talk to Stripe in order to find the plans within our own application, um, which just makes things a lot quicker to find. Um, who knows where I even put the collection? Bim, that'll be easier. Oops. Whoops. Ah. Riveting viewing for everyone. My fingers are in the wrong place. And my computer is still doing the thing where the battery
I love that one.
is.
I love that when I'm in Vim and then I accidentally press the wrong key and start typing, and then the screen just goes
It just
insane.
goes everywhere, yeah.
Just like, yeah, exactly. It's like, whoa, 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 wait, what's happening?
Yeah. So we've got on our plan collection object, we've got a find by name, find by product ID, find by pricing ID, find by lookup key, and find pricing ID by lookup key. And all of this stuff is just like wrappers around collection methods. So find by pricing ID, it finds the first plan where the pricing ID matches a nested price ID, right? So all of this stuff, rather than having to do this everywhere, like there's 3 or 4 places that we're looking for plans, and it's easier just to do it this way. And then the collection actually returns an array of DTOs. So we're using the Sparsy DTO package, the data transfer object package, and that
Yep.
allows us to put some behavior and some consistency on the plans themselves. So if we were to look at a plan, for example, we've got some additional functionality on there to sort of say like, give me the monthly pricing for this plan, or give me the yearly pricing. And then we've added the functionality in there, can downgrade projects and can downgrade seats. So there are 2 criteria for then ping me that change between the different pricing tiers that we have. So that's the number of projects that you can monitor and the number of seats that you have. And this is where it comes back to what you were saying. If a customer wants to downgrade, if they're on the sort of the pro tier, they get, three seats and 10 projects or whatever it is.
Yeah.
If they're using 11 projects, we don't know. Yeah, we could make the assumption, okay, well, you're going to lose access to the most recent, anything that is over 10. So 11 and above, you just lose access to that based on when it was created. What we decided was probably the better user experience was to just show in the plan switcher, you can't downgrade to this plan because you are using more seats than the plan offers, or you're monitoring more projects than the plan offers. And so we make it really clear at that point, and at least there's some action that can be taken. Oh, okay, this is the case. I can go and, remove a team member if I need to remove a team member, or I can, get rid of an old project that I don't need anymore, or I could just stay on this plan, which works out better for us because, obviously more revenue that way. So,
right.
And this is where it got to the point where it's like, well, we'd really like to use Customer Portal, but we can't really because there's no way for us to tell Customer Portal that there's X number of inclusions and the customer is in breach of those.
Correct.
And you don't want to send some away to like a third party page and then they go, okay, I'm going to change down a plan, and it all gets processed in Stripe, and then they come back to us, and like then we've got no way of saying that this is going to happen, so they come back and suddenly they've lost access to 7 of their 11 projects, or 8 of their 11 projects, or they've lost 2 of their team members and not getting any notifications for things anymore. So just making it really explicit. And now we've got the kind of split where that part of the process is handled on our side. But if you want to update your billing method, or if you want to check download old invoices or whatever, then that is still going to go into the Customer Portal for now. And we'll just figure out over time, like, is that fine? Like, do we need to change it? Because I was like, I don't know about having the disjointed experience, and you're like, it's easy just to put a button there and they can go and do it. And if we get questions about it, then we can deal with it later. In hindsight, I don't think we will get too many questions about it because, we're all developers, and this is a developer-focused tool. So I think people will kind of get that. The only place where it might become an issue is if you have a billing-only team member. And and that may be something that they look at later. Like, there's a billing-only team member count towards the number of seats. Like, can you just add a billing team member?
That's a good point.
That is kind of outside of the inclusion? Because then you can have 3 actual team members and then someone who's got the billing role, and they don't see the projects and they don't get any of the notifications, but they can go and manage billing. Because, your accounts person might need to go and fetch the invoices for last month or the last 6 months or whatever it takes time. So that's something that we can figure out later on. Whether that person sits there. But at where we stand at the moment, like, this is all functional. We just need to, and you and I were discussing, or I said we need to do the terms and the privacy policy and all that, and then you went to try and steal some from other people as we're a startup, we'll just do this for now. At some point, we're probably going to have to get them vetted, at least read them and make sure that they're suitable for our needs.
For sure. I think there's, this is not an uncommon need. I mean, you have privacy policy, you have terms and conditions, and then you have a lot of you have some GDPR compliance stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So there are some really good resources I found around those actually. While looking for examples, I went to Laracasts actually, and there was some discussion around some people saying, in the message boards, like, hey, have you found something that, some sites that work good for generating these, whatever. And there was some really good options. Maybe I'll throw those in the show notes possibly. In any case, I looked at the ones for Forge and for Laracasts. And I was actually looking for I went to Chipper CI first. I was like, they got to be doing something similar to this, because Chipper CI is it's a product for your stuff. Yeah. It doesn't necessarily manage your servers or anything. So I was like, I'm wondering if their stuff will probably be pretty similar. I didn't find anything. So I don't think I'm not sure if they even have anything.
Stripe says that you need to have these things. So I don't know, what.
Yeah, it looks like they do.
Yeah, what the kind of implications are for not having them. I guess for a smaller for for us, like just starting out, it probably doesn't matter. But at the same time, like you want to, and like we put the information into the FAQs. You know, people are going to ask, "What do you know?" Because there's a client application that sends information from your application to us, and so people want to know, like, what are we sending? What are we tracking? And it's only the things that we need to know to give you the information about your application. Like we tell you, was this running on a production or a staging environment? Was it running from that? We go to some detail to figure out the actual IP address. And like if it's a public IP, you know, you might get funny about someone having access to your IP address. Not that they can't figure that out, but like, you know, we're not going to do anything with that. Private IPs, like you're not going to have access to anyway if it's inside like an AWS VPC. Like if it's on a private range or a 172 or a 10 dot address, like you're not going to get to it anyway, even if you did know what it was. And we take some information about what you've put into your application. So if you've put a description on your scheduled task, like we know what that is, and we know the run. Obviously, we need to know what the schedule is for the command because we need to know when your task is not run on time and things like that. So, but we don't take any profiling information or diagnose. Well, actually, that's not true. We do calculate run times and memory usage, but you know we don't profile your server. We don't inspect your application. We don't look at the code itself. Like we don't know what's in there. We only capture the information we need in order to give you the information thereafter, which is my task is not running. And then in terms of like team members, well, you need to this is actually coming in Jetstream as well in the future, where you'll be able to invite someone who's not already a user, which we'll probably wait on. For now, people can just like sign up and then get added. And that will save us having to do that work ourselves. I expect Taylor will turn that around reasonably quickly in the next couple of weeks. And we can just bolt that on later. But like, we know your name and your email address. And, we need your name because we say, hey, Jake, here is your task that is running late. And we need your email address because we need to send it to you. In future, we're going to have other communication channels. So we'll do Slack, we'll do webhooks. And probably the only other thing we'll do is like Zapier. And then you can just do whatever the heck you want from Zapier. And then we don't need to worry about integrating a million different notification channels. So that'll probably be something that we want to roll out soon after we launch the product. But it's been running fairly smoothly for a while now. Like probably the last time we had a blip was when I rolled out the data pruning. So we give you the maximum period of time that we track information historically in terms of how many alerts you had and things like that is 30 days. So we keep the previous 60 days of metrics so that we can say like, last month you had 1,000 alerts and this month you've got 50 alerts, right? So that you can see that you fixed a whole bunch of problems. And I expect that'll be the case for a lot of people that like, you don't know unless you're monitoring this stuff that you have got issues, that tasks are running too long and they're slowing down other tasks on the same queue, on the same schedule and things like that. So when I rolled that stuff out, Freek put out a good post on pruning data and doing it in an efficient way and essentially chunking it into 1,000. And if there was some records deleted, then requeue the job and do another 1,000 and keep doing that until you get to 0. The problem that I had, the only thing that he didn't mention in that blog post, which in hindsight was obvious, was that I didn't have an index on the created at. So when I was trying to sort a table that had like 3 million records on it by created at descending limit 1,000, that kind of slowed everything. And it, that locked the table, which caused cascading issues. So that was probably about 3 or 4 weeks ago, maybe longer. And that's the lot. Like I haven't had any of my applications fail to report. I haven't received any, well, unless we're not sending notifications and something is critically broken. Everything seems to be going fine. And we've onboarded a few more people. I've had a couple of people message me with issues just around like getting set up and things like that. And those things I've documented and put in the FAQ, which will go out with this next round of
That's the other thing is the docs. Yep, docs are good to go. So
written all the documentation for everything and the FAQs and things like that. And I've knocked out most of the things. We'll probably get some kind of blog up eventually that goes into more detail about some of the FAQ points. I know that Justin Jackson's really good with Transistor. When people ask him a question, he'll go and put like a blog post together or an FAQ and things like that. So that
it's
the next time someone asks that question, you can just say, here's the FAQ kind of thing.
Right. It's an investment in your own sanity, I suppose. Like, so, if you have that question once, it's likely you're going to have it a couple times. So then you can just say, hey, here's some documentation I wrote up about that. If you have any other questions, I'd be happy to help you out,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
But at least give them a good place to start. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, we've still got a couple things to do, but I mean, I mean, I think honestly, the only things we probably have to do before we get launched, I do need to put that privacy and the terms and conditions stuff in place. But I don't think that's too big of a deal. Like I said, we can.
Yeah,
There's
just be
some that we
static
can borrow. I
pages.
did find them. I did find them on Chipper CI. Yeah, and we can just throw them in our documentation stuff. So basically, then we just have to say when somebody's signing up, you're agreeing to the terms and conditions and the privacy policy
Mm-hmm.
checkbox that they don't read, right, as we stated earlier, and then they register, and then we're good.
Yeah.
Yep. So I'm excited, man. I think I want to shoot for like this next week. I think that'd be awesome.
I
I don't
think we
see any
have to
reason why we couldn't.
because we're running
So,
out of October, and this will be the second
yep.
October. We said we're going to launch
This would
by
be the second
October
October.
last year, and we didn't.
Yep.
We didn't say October
Yep.
2019, so we still haven't
Yep.
said
We got
October
to hit.
2020 either. So it could just be October 2021 at this point.
Yeah. So
But we
we're
want to
we're
try and
gonna
get it
make it
out.
happen. Yeah.
Hmm.
Absolutely. So
We've got what is it? The 20th today, the 19th.
it is the 19th, 20th your time.
Yeah, it's the
I think.
19th.
Well,
It's the
that's it.
19th here. Yeah, it's the 19th here. So we've
Sorry.
got
19th, yeah, really early in the morning.
31
19th
days
here.
this
Yeah.
month. So
Just
we've
rolled
got,
over.
12 days to go. 2 weeks. I
I
think
think we'll be good.
we should be able to
Yep.
get it done.
I agree. So exciting times, man. And speaking of exciting times, it is now exciting time for me to go to bed.
Mm.
So what else we got to talk about? Anything else we got to talk
We're
about?
gonna talk about our friends over at Fathom Analytics.
Let's do it.
So our Fathom Analytics is a privacy focused. Hey, maybe we should talk to them about a privacy policy. I know that they actually pay like a
Ooh, I
person.
like
They've
that.
got a privacy person. I know Jack and Paul talk about this person on their podcast often, so maybe I'll hit Jack up about it. But Fathom Analytics is a privacy focused analytics platform giving you all of the information that you need about your website application visitors and nothing that you don't. There's no cookie tracking, so you don't need to put up those annoying little screen real estate eating modals. And if you join using the special link usefathom.com/north, you will get a 14-day free trial as well as a $20 credit against your account, which on the basic plan will get you about 2 months of free service. So if you're looking to make the move away from that horrendously overcomplicated Google Analytics dashboard and look at something that's a little more pleasing and a little quicker and something that's hosted on Laravel Vapor, definitely check them out. As I said, you can check them out at usefathom.com/north.
Sounds good, man. Hey, tell us also how's the new baby doing?
She's doing
I got
well.
to see the beginning of the show.
You
Yeah.
got to see her beforehand. Yeah, she's doing really well. She is 5 weeks and 3 days old now. Sort of starting to settle into a better sleep routine, although, no, knock on wood, now that I've said that, she won't sleep well tonight. There were a couple of days last week where she'd wake up and she would be grizzly and not wanting to be put down, and then she'd be up for 2 hours, and that wears on you. But last night we got 4 hours, 4.5 hours, and 3 hours, so it wasn't too bad in a couple of nice blocks. But she's just grizzly during the day. Like, we'll put her down for a nap and she'll just grizzle for 3/4 of an hour. Like, I put her down and I waited 15, 20 minutes, and then I drove to the gym, which was another 15 minutes, and re-messaged me probably another 15 minutes after that saying, oh, well, she's just grizzled herself to sleep now. So, it took her an hour to get to sleep, and then, she sleeps well once she's there, but it just takes a while to get her there. And she'll fall asleep on you, like that. And then as soon as you put her down, she's like, what?
Once
No,
you lay
I
her
wasn't
down.
sleeping.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
And we had the same problem
Just
with
kidding.
Eli. And Eli's really good now. We can put him down and he just lights out. We follow through our routine. We sing the songs, we drink the bottle, we get him into bed, we say, good night, and I just walk out the room, and that's it. And that's the last I hear from him for 12
That's the
hours.
best.
So it's been good. And especially that he's like, sometimes sometimes Liv really screams, especially, it's getting warmer now, but it's still a little bit chilly at night. So, you get the nappy off and Liv just blows her lid like, I'm cold, stop it. And then the wet wipes are never pleasant. So I have to tuck them into my boxer shorts so that, they can into the side so they can warm up a little bit before I go and wipe her backside. So
That's hilarious.
She's doing well. She's awake more and she's starting to get a little bit more alert. And we've got her she's got this little jungle play mat, and she seems to enjoy that for literally minutes at a time before she chucks the shit. So
that's funny, man. That's awesome. That is awesome. Yeah, she's so cute. So cute. Yeah. Congratulations again.
Yeah.
So excited for you guys.
Mhm.
Well, hey, everybody, thanks so much for hanging out with us for a little bit. This was episode 84.
4.
If you'd like to find show notes for this episode, you can find them at northmeetsouth.audio/84. Again, thanks to Fathom Analytics and WorkVevo for sponsoring the show today. If you liked it, you can rate us up in your podcatcher of choice at 5 stars is very much appreciated. Or just hit that retweet button when we post it out there on Twitter. Any comments or questions are also welcome on Twitter at Michael, Dorinda at Jacob Bennett, or at North South Audio. Thank you so much, everybody. Holy cow, I cannot talk. It's too late. Thanks so much, everybody. We'll see you again in 2 weeks.
See you. Bye.
Bye.